Swinging a high drive into center field. Hits at the wall. It is gone! Casas does it again. It's gone! It's into the bullpen! This game is tied! This game is tied!
He swings and rips one to center field. It's high, it's deep, it's back, it's gone! Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike three, it's over! The Red Sox have won the World Championship!
Whoa! Welcome back to Play Tessie. It's episode 76. If you're listening on drop day, it's May 27th. Episode 76. Friend of the program, Zach Kelly, rocks 76 nowadays. This is the official podcast of the Red Sox, slowly turning everything surrounding the team yellow, including these awesome shades they gave away on Saturday. If you're watching on the YouTube, check these out. Oh, pretty cool. Ooh. Sammy's rocking them in a few parts of the video that we're going to be releasing at some point soon. Sammy and I were at the game on Saturday, and we did the whole shebang, and it was great. And we've got some good stuff coming for you guys. But this is also known as the official Red Sox podcast of WEEI. Before we get going, before we talk some Sox for you guys, remember, hit that subscribe button. Whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or the Odyssey app, hit the subscribe button and rate us 5 stars. It helps us out a ton. Check us out on YouTube as well. We're on the WEEI channel. We've got a playlist there. Helps us out a ton when you hit that thumbs up button and check out those videos. It is good stuff. So remember, hit us up there and then follow us on the socials at PlayTessie on both Twitter and Instagram. Here with Sammy and Pat. Sox coming off a rough start to the series, but they salvage the series, I guess, in the third game. They avoided the sweep. I don't want to say salvage. They avoided the sweep, which we'll take. It was an exciting third game, way more exciting than the first two. But first, before we get into that, Sammy, I saw you yesterday. Pat, haven't seen you since we last recorded. How you fellas doing?
I think I'm sunburnt. I'm realizing now as we're starting to record that my face is more red than usual. It's a little alarming. Hopefully it's not a painful sunburn. But yeah, other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I don't think you look that burnt, man. I think you look good. Is it from yesterday, from the game?
No, look, dude, did you see that? Look at this. When I put my hand on my head.
Oh, yeah, it's a little whiter.
No, I think it's from today. I went on a run before the game today, and I think I neglected to put sunscreen on my face, so I am paying the price right now.
You know, the one thing, just speaking of, because Pat, we gotta work out a time to get you out to Fenway with us. But thing that we because a lot of the games that Sammy and I had been to before this, it was in the cold, like you didn't really notice, like we're wearing jackets and stuff. But we were texting before we went on Saturday, and it's like, can we wear shorts? And we came to the conclusion that we probably shouldn't. We'll go pants and then get a lay of the land, see if people are wearing shorts, and then we can adjust for next time, because it's like 75 degrees and like there's gonna be days where it's like 90. So it might as well find out when it's 75. We go, no one's wearing shorts. There's no shot we're going to be able to wear shorts. So brace yourself for sweaty legs this year, Pat. It's a thing. It was a thing in 75. It's going to be a thing in the 85s and the 90s that we get later this year.
Gordo, you want to hear something nasty? On the train ride home, I left a sweat stain on the tee with my butt.
Oh,
that's how hot it was yesterday. I was literally sweating like through my pants. It was brutal. Like, it wasn't okay. I should back up. It wasn't that hot, but to be in the sun in jeans, and I also stupidly wore high socks under my jeans because I always do that when I wear jeans. It's like I don't know, I just do it. So I was burning up, and then the second we're done getting content and we go upstairs, we eat, we come back down, I'm like, oh, I think I'm actually going to stick with the jeans. It's not that bad.
Because it wasn't that hot at that point, and we were sitting under the overhang.
So I went up to right field to meet up with a friend, and him and I were like in the sun boiling, but it was still fun.
Why didn't you change at that point?
Because then I would have, go all the way to right field from behind home plate, all the way to right field, meet up with my friend. We grab a drink. Hold on, man. Let me leave real quick again, go change, and then come back. Would have been a whole schlep.
You left a sweat stain on the tee. It's like you're playing pickup basketball and you sit down on the stairs after. That's where the ass. No, it's not 5 minutes.
Hey, I have a Fenway experience complaint. You know what happened to me? I went to go buy one of those chargers on the Truly deck. They're $2 for 30 minutes of charging your phone because my phone was completely cooked from using it to read statistics about bears and gorillas to the Red Sox players. And I pay for one of these chargers and I take it out and the thing is broken. There's no metal thing. So I asked security, they're like, you got to go down to fan services. So I run down 2 flights to fan services and they tell me, well, you should probably put it back because you're being charged for it. Run back up 2 flights of stairs, put the charger away, run back down to fan services. And they're like, we can charge it for an inning. We leave in the 7th. This is the top of the 6th. Run back up 3 flights to hang out with my friends for that inning, which was very quick. Then back down 3 flights of stairs, all for 7% extra juice on my iPhone. It was
wow.
That's why I was actually sweaty.
That's horrendous. Wow,
yeah,
that's not a good.
That'll
experience.
give you some T-swamp ass.
Yeah, man, that was a swampy workout that I did at the Fenway right field area.
So should we get into this series a little bit? Get into some baseball? I mean, the Brewers, every game I looked up before first pitch because we do the series previews and like sometimes they announce starters and sometimes you have to do a little bit of like backlog research, go into some websites and see who's projected to start because it's not announced. And before the series, the Brewers had announced 2 starting pitchers and no one for the third. The first 2 games, they ended up using openers. And I feel like that kind of pissed the Sox off a little bit. And the reason I say that is because on Saturday, they just like straight up didn't release a lineup until 30 minutes before first pitch. I feel like the use of openers against the Red Sox is actually pretty smart because all the Red Sox best hitters are lefties. So if you throw a lefty opener, the options for the Red Sox are either put your best hitters at the top of the order, but now they're in an unideal matchup, or you drop them down in the order and either the opener gets used but now you have potentially fewer at bats for your best players, or they let their opener go a second inning and your guys are still facing a lefty and there's fewer at bats. So I don't know. I guess that's part of the issues with all the lefties on this team. And it's all the prospects they've got coming are lefties. So it's not like unless they realign the org, it's not like that's changing.
Yeah, it's the pros and cons of having these platoon-ish positions like first base, middle infield a bit, center field. It's good because you can match up against starting pitching easily, but once it gets into the bullpen or an opener, like you said, it gets a little bit tricky. And to Milwaukee's credit, they did a pretty good job navigating it in the first 2 games. Third one, not as much, but the first 2, they were really good with the matchups, bullpen / opener, whatever it was. So it was a chess match. Red Sox unfortunately did not win that chess match for the most part, but it's interesting to see how teams will counter the Red Sox because they are kind of oddly constructed.
Yeah, it's a lot. They've become more balanced in some ways, but in terms of the lefty righty stuff, especially with the injury to Story, it's far less balanced. And then the other thing that caught my eye as we got into the series, and maybe part of it was because the first game was on Apple TV Plus, was all the Sal Frelick talk. Like it was. I'm not even going to get into the stupid popcorn bucket thing that they talked about no fewer than 85 times on the Apple TV broadcast on Friday. But I do want to talk about the Sal Frelick thing because I looked it up and I think there are 6 active players that were born in the state of Massachusetts. It's just not a thing. We don't produce baseball players here. I get it's because like you can only play half the year.
Man. When I moved out to California, in the middle of the winter, and I was on a Babe Ruth level baseball team within a week. It's crazy. It feels weird when you move east to west and you play during the winter, but it's a gigantic advantage. Like you get months more of training. So it's not a lack of talent. It's just the circumstances. We got them in hockey though.
Were the kids better in California when you got there? Because it's just,
dude, yeah.
I mean, if you have more time,
they have to be.
It's a different ball game. They're just more advanced. Like the way they play is so much more intense on the West Coast. Like even the coaching actually is what stood out to me the most. The little things that the coaches will harp on that you would think would be at a older varsity high school or even collegiate level. They're doing that in like middle school. It's nuts. So yeah, I'm not surprised that there's not as many people out of Massachusetts or New England in general. It's a big disadvantage.
Pat, do you find yourself obsessed with Sal Frelick now, having seen the Brewers and having been through all the hoopla?
No. So like I get like it's cool. It's cool. Like I get it. Mass kid coming back to Fenway. Like it's cool. It's awesome. I don't want to hear another word about Sal Frelick for the rest of his major league career. I heard enough the other day to suffice me 10 years. I'm all set.
He's
I'm good.
local.
Thank you.
He's
Appreciate
local.
Well, you want to know what, Pat? This is something I've heard is that you might hear more about him because he's not just like a kid who was born in Massachusetts. He's apparently like a big masshole, like big Boston guy. Like he's from Lexington, not too far. And apparently before it's all said and done, he definitely wants to make a stop in Boston. I don't know if that's where he wants to sign a long-term deal in 6 years or whenever he hits free agency, or if it's like make a stop at the end of his career before it's over. I don't know, but I know that he is a big Boston dude. Grew up loving Dustin Pedroia. That's his favorite player. Got to work out some with Pedroia this offseason because they were teaching him infield just in case, because the Brewers had some stacked outfield, like a surplus out there. He never ended up playing in the infield, but yeah, I don't know. Just something to keep an eye on. If Sal Frelick comes to Boston in the future, he made that happen. But
yeah, he's local
kid, good guy, local guy.
Did you mention that yet, Gordo, that he's local?
I did. I did. You know he's from Lexington?
And Charlie Coyle is from Weymouth.
Yep.
Yes.
Sal Frelick went to Boston College.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Look at that.
Damn, man.
That's exciting.
He must have been so upset when he got drafted by Milwaukee and had to leave. But yeah, it's in terms of game one, like I don't know, like going through these games one by one when they're boring losses is not the most entertaining form of podcasting. But I do want to talk a little bit about Kutter Crawford. I'm going to try to pull up some stats here. I had them written down somewhere. I should have pulled them up before. All right, you ready? Kutter Crawford, and this was originally put on Twitter by Jen McCaffrey, who wrote it in her article. But through his first 5 starts, Kutter had an 0.66 ERA, and he allowed just 2 runs over those starts. And like obviously we were going nuts for that. But in his next 6 starts, and obviously a lot of this is impacted by the fact that he went 4 1/3 and allowed 6 runs in this start in game 1. But after that first 5 start stretch, in the next 6 starts, he has a 4.63 ERA. Sammy, do you find yourself at all concerned about Kutter? Like, what do you see? Like, what do you think about what's going on here?
I wouldn't say concerned. This is kind of expected. I don't think anyone thought that Kutter was going to go through the entire season with a ERA in the 2s or even the low 3s. He's going to have his ups and downs. We also saw last year, and we've talked about this a million times, that Kutter, especially, it was noticeable to see him run out of gas. So if they, maybe skip a start here or there, or give him a 4 or 5 inning, cut down on the workload for him, I think it might behoove him as the season goes on. But to circle back to your question, no, I think this is what we all should have expected. That's not me saying that Cutter's not good. It's just that he's never been at this elite level. So to see him drop off a bit should be expected. And looks like that's what's happening. Next thing that we need to see is if he can bounce back. If he can't bounce back, that's when a little bit of the worries will creep in.
Yeah, and there were some points where, and it hasn't been a consistent thing, but the velocity has gone down a little bit at points. ERA up into the high 2s. When you watching the early parts of the season when they were both dominating, it was a Kutter and Houck discussion. And I always said at the time, it feels like Houck is actually dominating these guys. And Cutter's pitching great, but it just doesn't feel like the same level of dominance that it feels like when Houck throws. So it's not all that surprising to me, at least, to see him regress down to the mean. But I agree, Sammy. It's really about how you bounce back from starts like that. It's the Andrew Bailey motto. He said it a bunch at the beginning when he first got hired, when he first started making the rounds with those podcasts. It's about when you struggle, how quickly can we get you back on the tightrope? We want the net to be a few feet below the tightrope, not a few stories below, where it takes you several starts to figure things out. We want to be able to get you back on track quickly. Kutter won't be starting. Actually, he will be starting in this upcoming series against Baltimore. So not an easy bounce back opportunity. But yeah, Pat, watching Kutter Crawford, What do you see? Like, do you think that this is just a blip on the radar? Or is this something that Sox fans should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, water's always going to find its level, right? He wasn't going to go all year with a .66 ERA, win the Cy Young. Like that was never going to be a full season thing. He profiles as a high threes, low fours kind of guy, back end of the rotation. The big thing with the difference between Houck and Kutter is a finesse pitcher. He is not throwing gas. He hides the ball well. He deceives guys. His off-speed plays. And when you're a pitcher like a finesse guy, it's very hard to be on in terms of finessing every single start. So I'm not really concerned. I think this was pretty predictable in terms of like he'll kind of level out at some point. I think we're just seeing him reach that point of, okay, this is what we're getting. And it's going to be that high threes, low fours, 5 innings, maybe 6. He had a stretch, I think it was last month or 2 months ago, last month, where he went, I think it was 3 starts in a row, like 6 innings. And then right after that is when he kind of started to fumble around a little bit. So I think Sammy brought up a good point. It's maybe you skip him a start. Maybe you limit him to 4 or 5 innings just to get a full healthy season out of him.
Yeah, and the Red Sox now have Brad Keller, who they acquired today. That's a guy who started. I'm sure we'll touch on him eventually. But Pat, when you talk about Kutter as a finesse guy, one thing I've noticed is if you look at the Seattle series and the first few starts of the season for Kutter compared to this weekend against Milwaukee, the cutter and the fastball are both down about half a mile an hour. So hopefully that trend doesn't continue, because once you start to get multiple miles an hour difference, that's when the effectiveness starts to drop, I would say. And that's just a very general thing, but just something to keep an eye on, the decreased velocity. This is kind of why I would advocate for maybe giving like Chase Anderson a start, or this Keller guy that they just acquired, just to keep Kutter fresh. It's not an ability thing. It's simply an endurance thing. And we've talked about how he's thicker this year. We like to use the thickness word. He does look thicker, and hopefully that added size helps with the endurance. But I would just, in a bridge year especially, I would tread lightly with these kinds of things.
Yeah, and to your point, Sammy, it's one thing to see a guy lose a mile an hour or whatever on his fastball velocity or even his whole repertoire at the end of the season, but it's May. So you gotta get out in front of this. You can't overwork the guy. I understand that there were points earlier in the season where you had several members of the rotation down where you really needed to rely on guys like Houck and Kutter to get you some extra innings to leave the bullpen fresher for those games where maybe you were bullpenning it, or Criswell wasn't stretched out, or they were starting Winkowski for a little while. But now, I mean, obviously we don't have great news on Whitlock, but you have 5 healthy starters, so you can afford to take it a little easier. I do wish that, because they were planning on going with a 6-man for at least one turn when they anticipated Whitlock coming back in the Rays series, but since that happened, he experienced elbow soreness in AAA. That they ended up getting an MRI. Looks like there's a tear in his UCL, a partial tear. And Whitlock said that he anticipates when he visits Dr. Dugas in this, I think you want to say Wednesday. I want to say it's this week. He is anticipating being able to not get Tommy John surgery, but get that internal brace surgery. And Pat, I'll let you touch up on that again to give a refresher on what that means, because even though the UCL tear it's the same diagnosis for both, like Tommy John surgery and this internal brace procedure are designed to fix torn UCLs. They have different prognoses. Is that the right word? They have different timelines of recovery.
Yeah, it's a different surgery. So, I mean, as of before, maybe 2 or 3 years ago at this point, maybe 5. So when there used to be a UCL tear, it was Tommy John, no matter what, 100% of the time. You're looking at 12, 14 months on the shelf, come back in about a year and 2 months. The new surgery, which friend of the program, Rich Hill got, Lucas Giolito got, and then I would guess what Whitlock is going to get. So normally they'll take either, for a traditional Tommy John, they take either autograft from a muscle or tendon in your own body, or they'll take it from a cadaver, whatever, and they replace the UCL. This new surgery with the brace keeps your UCL, the one that you were born with, and just adds anchors to each bone to reinforce your UCL. The healing time is way faster. It's like you're thrown in 6 months. So I think it's huge if Whitlock is able to get it because he'll be back next year. Giolito will be back next year. But for someone like him who, correct me if I'm wrong, but he had Tommy John in what?
2020? No, yeah, 2020. It was right before
20? Yeah.
because that's why he was able to, the Sox were able to get him in the Rule 5.
Yeah. So anyone with like a history of UCL tear gets a little more funky, like whether they qualify for the surgery, because it's all based on where the actual tear is in the ligament. But if he can get it, I mean, we've been seeing the comments from Lucas Giolito. He thinks he can throw right now. He's like, I'm good. Like, I feel great.
Yeah.
I'm already throwing all like. So to have Whitlock back that early on would be absolutely massive. And Dugas is the doctor who does UCL with internal brace. Him and James Andrews.
It's so bittersweet. You see these guys like, oh, he's going to Dr. Dugas. Damn it. He's going to Dr. Dugas.
Yeah.
But at least it's Dr. Dugas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bittersweet. Real quick, we talked about being worried about pitching staff, I guess you could say, with Crawford having some struggles and then Whitlock going down. I think we have to touch on Nick Pivetta. He did not look good yesterday as we record. He pitched on Saturday against Milwaukee. Pivetta this year, among pitchers who have pitched 30 innings, so I couldn't do qualified, so I had to go 30 innings because that's how many Pivetta's thrown. He has the 4th worst home runs through 9, 2.1. And that's after yesterday when he didn't allow a home run yesterday.
I was going to say, I feel like it was just, I mean, everything came in that big, I want to say 3rd inning rally.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no home runs.
So no home runs for Pivetta yesterday, yet he still has a 2.1 home run per 9. And I think it was, off the top of my head, I believe it was 2.4 before the game. So it went down and it's still pretty ugly. That's kind of a red flag for me. I know the ERA has gone up a lot. It's at it's at 4.20 right now, bro, on the dot. Oh, nice, Pat. But yeah, man, he's something's up with him. And this is not just the 2024 thing. This dates back to like mid 2023. He gives up hard contact. So for as nasty as the whirly bird pitch looks and the ride on his fastball and the adding the changeup and the looping curveball, the stuff is electric, but he gets hit fucking hard, man. And that kind of worries me. I think I'm a little more worried about Pivetta than I am about Crawford, to be honest. And a side note, the lowest home run rate in Major League Baseball, Tanner Houck.
Hey.
You know, I didn't even give my take on Kutter. I'm not that concerned about him just because my expectation was not that he was going to stay low 2s. I thought he was going to level out as a mid to high 3s guy. And with Pivetta, I think it's a similar expectation there for me. I'm not as concerned about Pivetta as you, Sammy. Like, you got to remember the start before this, he went 6 innings and he allowed 1 hit, 1 run, and the hit was a homer. So obviously, yes, he's always been a guy who's susceptible to the home run ball. But Pivetta, for the most part, I mean, obviously he's not thrown a lot of games this year, so you got to take it for whatever it's worth. But since his return, he struggled against the Braves. It's only 3 starts, right? He struggled against the Braves, was great against the Cardinals, and then he struggled against the Brewers. Right?
Yeah.
So again, for me, it's just going to be about how he bounces back. He's not going to be pitching in this Baltimore series. So who do they face after Baltimore?
Who knows, dude? It's a mystery. Hey, in defense of Pivetta, his xFIP is 3.27. So it's not all his fault. It's just that when you have such a high home run rate, you're more prone to those blow up starts that just completely take a team out of a game. So
yeah.
And with Pivetta, it's not like Crawford, who's a young guy and you're figuring out what he is. Pavetta's been around for a while at this point. I think we know who he is. He'll show flashes of looking like an ace, and then he'll look like a AAA starter on certain nights. So if you're going to live with Pivetta, you're going to have to handle those ups and downs. It's going to happen. The control's an issue too. We don't have to get into the walk. He's walking actually 1.5 walks per 9. That feels like it's low somehow. I would have guessed a lot higher, but I guess command is the issue, not control, but command. So Crawford, keep an eye on the velocity. Pivetta, keep an eye on the home runs. Hopefully those both trend in the right direction for the Red Sox.
Yeah, and Pivetta's next start will be likely Thursday against Detroit back at Fenway Park after they go to Baltimore for a quick series on the road. So Detroit struggling a little bit more lately than they were at the beginning. They were looking pretty good at the beginning. So hopefully he can get back on track there. We'll see. But another guy who's struggling, and like I find it funny with the tone we use for these shows, because like every Sunday, it feels like every Sunday show is they lost the first two in a series and then they win the last one. So it's like we're like, yeah, the series wasn't good, but at the same time they won the last one. So like, I don't know.
When I think about on Sunday now, nine Sunday wins, something nuts like that.
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's 9-0. It's 9-0. The Sunday Sox are undefeated. But in terms of someone who's struggling, because there are guys on this team struggling, and Tyler O'Neill might be one of the biggest strugglers on the team right now. And now he's got that knee injury that he tweaked during his, I want to say, at bat in like the 6th inning of Game 2. Made a great catch early on, but apparently that might not have impacted. I don't know. He said it's something he's been dealing with. But before that even came up, or at this point, actually, I don't know if it was before it came up, but he's 0 for his last 15 with 10 strikeouts. So that's a guy, regardless of direction, like regardless of what you think of this season, whether you think the Sox can make the playoffs and compete, whether you think they're going to sell, whether you want Tyler O'Neill to stick around next year and whatever, like you need Tyler O'Neill to be good, because either you're going to need him to get you to the postseason or you're going to need him for his trade value at the deadline. He has been struggling mightily, and a lot of, I don't know, you could have different theories. Like the struggles really did start after that collision with Devers.
It has to be, man. I mean, I
but
can't.
It's the knee too. It's
I know his knee's a little tweaked, but it's been like night and day, like a completely different looking guy. And I mean, I don't know if either of you guys have had a concussion, but it's literally like you wake up and you feel like you're like stoned or buzzed, like you just had like 3 drinks. It's awful. It sucks. Like you can't escape it. And sometimes with concussions, at least like with like the martial artists that I've worked with, they sometimes think that the concussion's gone, but they're concussed. So they're not. I don't know. He might still be dealing with stuff, is what I'm saying. There's the long way of saying that. It's a really serious thing, and people sometimes go, oh good, when a guy gets a concussion, because it's not like a broken arm or something that'll keep them out for longer. But a concussion can linger for a very, very, very long time, and in a sport like baseball where your reaction time has to be perfect or you're absolutely cooked, that's my guess. It's too, the causation correlates too well for there not to be something going on with that.
Yeah, I do think it'll be good for him to get a few days, just because I don't know if that's going to do anything for his concussion. I've never had a concussion. I never understood, like Rizzo last year played with the concussion on accident and it never got better. I suppose because he was playing, but why is that? Like, why did it not get better with him playing? Wouldn't time just heal the concussion?
No, because if because it's your brain that needs to heal, and if you're constantly using it, it's not going to have time to heal. Like when the last time I got a concussion, I've only had like 2. I haven't had that many, but the last time I got a really bad one, I literally sat in a dark room and laid there for hours. No screens, nothing. The only thing I had was a dim light, and I was like reading a fantasy baseball magazine or something. It's like no light, no TV, no phone, or your brain will not heal. It could get worse, if anything. Pat, you might know more about this than I do, but
yeah,
I can't do anything.
I've treated a bunch of concussions. The thing with concussions is it's the slow buildup. Like it's like 10 minutes of phone screen time, 10 minutes with the light on, and then you just slowly ramp up, and you just kind of, there's a nice crescendo to it, and you kind of slowly get back to what you were before. Even at that point, you do have some long concussion symptoms. Like you still might have the grogginess. Like you might test negative, but you'll still kind of have some of those like weird lingering symptoms. But if you're playing with an active concussion, there's no healing going on, because everything that is provocative to your brain, you're doing. So
Pat,
there's no what?
Great example. Did you ever see that famous interview with Chuck Liddell where he had just come off of a concussion? You know, he said like, "Oh, I was taking medication. That's why." And they would ask him a question like, "Chuck, are you excited for your upcoming fight?" Something like that, and he would be like, Yeah. Is it? It's a good fight.
Yeah,
And
there's
there would
just
be
a
a long
dog.
pause. They'd be
Yeah.
like, "Are you good, man?" Are you okay. Next question. Moving on. It was just that's what I always think of. It's pretty disturbing, like
It
when you
is.
think about it, how
Concussions
your
are scary.
brain is. It's like you have this. You're like your head is like an egg, and if the yolk gets damaged, you're cooked. Could be forever.
If the yolk gets damaged, you're cooked.
You're cooked.
That
Hey,
egg
keep
is
that yolk.
cooked. That egg is scrambled.
That
If
egg
that
be cooked,
is
bro.
cooked. Ugh.
Hopefully, Tyler O'Neill's egg is not.
They
cooked.
should just put him in the fridge, close the door with the light off for 4 days while he rests.
Seriously, that's what you do. Oh, Pat, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong. Concussion tests are not super duper accurate. Like they give you a feel for how a guy's feeling, but like this with the finger in front of the eye and like
Yeah.
all that stuff.
So like the on-field stuff is more of like a screening tool. So like if I get someone like an athlete with a concussion, there's like a battery of tests that you do. There's one like on a treadmill, and you increase speed in the incline until the concussion symptoms come back, and then you mark it down and you do it a couple weeks later, see how they're improving. There's a survey thing, and it gives you it's the PCS, the post concussion scale, and you fill that out, and it gives you like a quantifiable number of what their symptoms are at, and you track progress that way. But like the finger stuff, especially like on field or day after, whatever, it's more of just a quick screen tool. But yeah, like it can come up negative and you're pretty lit up.
Yeah, it's scary, man. That's legit scary injuries. That's why I bother not to be like a white knight. I'm such a good guy, but when people are like, "Oh, it's just a concussion," I'm like, "Bro,
Yeah,
that could be really real. That could be worse than a ACL or something."
It's funny as hell because people literally have that mindset, Sammy, literally only because of fantasy football. That is
fucking Mark
the
Savard.
only reason.
Yeah, Mark Savard, perfect, Pat. Never the same. Never, ever came back from that.
Nathan Horton.
Never the same. And look at guys like Muhammad Ali is not a good example because he also had Parkinson's. But some of these like boxers, especially more so than like MMA or kickboxing guys, boxers, because they get hit to the head so much, they get concussions and sometimes they're not the same person. That shit is real, man. Like the brain injuries, TBIs, not a joke. So
Yeah.
if Tyler O'Neill needed a 10-day IL stint, I would be all for that. Just to sit in a dark room, give him some
10 days.
some gummies.
10 days in solitary confinement.
Seriously, man, that might be the best thing for him.
No, I know. But let's get into this third game a little bit because this is the one game that's actually worth talking about. At least a little bit more in depth. Tanner Houck started this game, 6 innings. 6 innings, 1 run. Like what more is there to say? I don't even know what more there is to say about Tanner Houck. The guy goes out there, carves lineups up. If he does get in any little bit of trouble, which he did in the first inning because of the sun, which crushed both teams. The sun was out to play. The sun might have been the best player on the field today, but he had 2 guys on and 2 outs, and I felt totally calm with Tanner Houck on the mound. Of course, he gets out of it, like no big deal. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings. His ERA is down to 1.9. I really don't know what more there is to say.
Dude, we gotta tell the listeners and Pat about Tanner Houck's shirt yesterday. That was awesome. I would wear. So Houck came out of the dugout with a shirt. It's the 1950s Red Sox logo. You know the one? It looks kind of like a penis holding a bat.
Like a condom. It looks like a condom.
Yeah, it looks like a very full condom. And so he had a yellow shirt, and it had that logo, and it said Yellow Sox.
The Boston Yellow Sox. Very
Love
cool
that.
shirt. Very cool shirt. Yeah, the guys always have good shirts. Like Whitlock came out
Gordo,
and he had a shirt about how you can't kill him. He's very excited about it. Whitlock was in good spirits. Very excited about his shirt. They always have good shirts.
Yep. But Houck, yeah, again today, just an absolute disaster with his ERA approaching 2. Gave up a run, which is unacceptable. They should probably DFA him and move on quickly before he might give up 2 runs in a start.
Yeah, I think that's why they signed Brad Keller. It's for when they DFA Tanner Houck for allowing a run over 6 innings.
Yeah, that's it. Tanner, your ERA is close to 2 now. We know you lead the league in home runs per 9, but you gave up a pretty deep fly ball today. So
Your slider might be
You made sit
tied.
on move, asshole.
His slider is tied with Chris Sale's slider for the best pitch in baseball. Lou was talking about on the broadcast. But yeah, I mean, if you're not ahead of him, you got to DFA him.
yeah, you got to DFA. No,
Yeah,
but
you
for real,
coming up the rear, you got to be number one.
it's becoming a joke. Like Tanner Houck just comes out there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 1 run. Okay, whatever. That's it. It's like common at this. Well, knock on wood, it's still only May, but still, out of all the guys who have given you optimism, Tanner Houck, for me, by far, has been the most like, holy shit, what is Andrew Bailey doing to these guys? It's working kind of guy. So, I don't know. What do you even say about him? He's just unbelievable. He should start the All-Star game at this point.
And it's crazy to think about too, because you have to remember that he has a 1.9 ERA. But I want to say that at least 75% of the runners that he has left on base at the end of outings and relievers have come in, like they always get let in. He has a 1.9 with all of his inherited runners scoring. It's crazy. Like it could be even lower.
Yeah. You guys know who might oppose Tanner Houck if he starts in the All-Star game?
Chris Sale.
Did you see his line today?
Oh, no.
I didn't see it. What'd he do?
7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 8 Ks. He is 8-1 with a 2.12.
He's such a stud. He's
2.12 though. That's not that great. That's
higher than Tanner, loser.
0.22 higher.
Loser.
But that's the thing though with the Houck with the Sale trade. Like he can have a great season. I'd still probably take Vaughn Grissom because they traded 1 year of Chris Sale.
Yeah.
They didn't trade 5 years. They traded 1 year of Chris Sale for Vaughn Grissom, who, by the way, base hit today. He's making contact. Contact's looking better, so maybe he's feeling better. Dude lost 1,000 pounds when he was sick. Couldn't even pick up the bat. Barely could get out of bed, but he's still out there. What a beast.
He looked like that. He looked like that kid from Diary of a Wimpy Kid with the stick figures. That's what he looked like when he lost all that weight.
Man, he looking like Flat Stanley out here.
He's just like, oh shucks, like I lost 75 pounds, guys. You got to give me some time.
75 pounds.
I do believe.
I saw someone on Twitter saying that they have a source and he lost like 90 something, and I was like, all right, man, he would be dead if he lost 90 pounds in a week. He would be fucking dead. Everyone's got a source. Everyone does. But
yeah, later in this game, or not later in this game, I want to like the inning. There were a couple innings where big shit happened, but one of them, I forget what inning it was. It might have been like the fourth or fifth. Willie Abreu in the outfield doing like cartwheels around and like spins loop-de-doos and making catches, and then goes in the next inning and spanks a triple into the fucking triangle. It was crazy inning for Willie. His jersey,
dude, 408 on a line.
His jersey was covered in dirt. He gets jacked up. I tweeted it after he hit the triple. But whenever this team is ready to go to the playoffs, Willier's going to have a crazy moment, and his reaction to whatever the hell he does is going to be so freaking electric. Like people are going to fall in love with this guy. So many people are going to get back into the Red Sox whenever they're back to being really good, and they're going to love Willier. This guy is an electric factory.
Can I give you some Willier nuggets?
Yes. What do you got?
All right. Here are some players with a lower OPS as of the middle of the day on May 26th, Sunday. These guys all have a lower OPS than Willier Abreu. Jose Ramirez, Freddie Freeman, Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, Ellie De La Cruz, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Pete Alonso, and Corey Seager. Willier Abreu has an 859 OPS, higher than all those guys. He is legitimately coming into his own, and it's awesome to see.
You could probably add like a shit ton of other big names to that list too. Like 859, like that's not like the list you gave is not just like a list of struggling stars. Like Abreu is having a solid season, and those guys are all having bad. No, like 859 is stud level. That's stud level OPS, and obviously like he's not great against lefties, and they are picking their spots. But this is what they did with a lot of these guys. They did it with Devers, they did it with Casas, they did it Duran, and all of these guys at this point in their careers are holding their own against lefties. So Willier is just on that on that path, man. This is year one of a 6-year rookie pact they've got with him. And if he's hitting like this now.
Mm-hmm. And for reference, Tristan Casas last year finished third in Rookie of the Year voting. He had an 856 OPS. So he's right in the same ballpark in terms of OPS as Casas. And let me give you, these are the other AL Rookie of the Year contenders. I'm going to go through them, give you a really quick stat on each. So I would say this guy might be number one right now, might be number two behind Abreu. Luis Gil from the Yankees. Pitched 10 games, 10 starts, 2.11 ERA. He's 6-1. That's pretty nasty. You got Mason Miller from the A's. Everyone knows about Mason Miller. He throws 200 miles an hour. He got rocked the other day, though. His ERA is 1.96, but he's a closer, so a 1.96 for a reliever is not the same as like.
That's higher than Houck, and he's a reliever. Come on, like let's.
Right. No, but he's nasty. But like for a closer on a bad team to win Rookie of the Year, you have to be close to perfect, and he's been close. But like I said, the Rockies got him the other day. Colton Cowser right now is probably the closest position player to Thick Willie, but he's cooled off a bit. His batting average is down to 248, OPS 804, still really, really good. 6 home runs, very good player, but like I said, cooled off. And then you got Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford, who were supposed to be part of this AL Rookie of the Year conversation in Texas, and they both just have been, pretty ice cold. There's also Sedon, who is a guy who's mentioned in that mix, but the offense just hasn't been there. So he's probably not going to get as much of a look as we initially would have thought. And also, he won't get as much credit for the defense because they've moved him around so much. So that's going to be weird. There's a really, really good case to say Wilyer Abreu should be the AL Rookie of the Year right now, May 26th, as we record.
You want to know what stinks about that is those rules. Like, how like the Orioles got that draft pick because Gunnar won the Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah.
The way that works, like you have to have the guy on your opening day roster and he has to win the Rookie of the Year. But it only works if the guy was on like multiple top 100 prospects lists, which Wilyer wasn't. So just because websites didn't think that Wilyer was a good enough prospect, if he wins the Rookie of the Year, the Sox won't get a draft pick because of that. That's crazy.
Do you know how stupid that is?
It's so
it felt fucking incredibly stupid. That is one of the dumbest. Who the fuck thought of that? Is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Oh, you weren't on this arbitrary list, therefore you're not eligible for compensate. What?
It's the same shit as the NBA's All NBA voting thing and determining whether those guys like get an extra like $50 million in their next contract. It's crazy.
That is so god tier, painfully, and so on brand for Major League Baseball. It just blows my mind. You have to be on the top 100. So if you're an underdog, you get knocked for that?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
That's insane. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I kind of forgot about that rule, and you've angered me by bringing it up.
I'm sorry. I've ruined Sammy's Sunday. But also for reference, because you're talking about Mason Miller and what it would take for a closer to win the Rookie of the Year. There was an Oakland A's closer who won the Rookie of the Year. Andrew Bailey did it.
Yeah, I was going to say Bailey, right?
And here's what it took. He had a 1.84 ERA in 68 games. He threw 83 1/3 innings, had a 1.84 ERA.
What did Kimbrel do when he won it?
Wait, how many innings did you? How many innings?
He threw 83 1/3 innings in 68 outings.
So he's almost throwing 100 innings. And what year was that?
That was 2009, and I'll pull up Kimbrel too. Kimbrel in his Rookie of the Year, he had a 2.1 ERA in 79 games through 77 innings. One Rookie of the Year.
But he had like 40 something saves, right?
46 saves, led the league.
Yep.
So I mean, it does make a difference if you're on a better team and like you're the closer on a really good team and you're going to the playoffs because like you close out all these. Like it's different for Mason Miller, at least in my eyes.
Yeah. He's not going to have the saves. Like, I don't want to. It sucks to knock the guy because of the team that drafted him. But if you're not pitching in high leverage spots and you're not making an impact, like Thick Willie, I know the Red Sox aren't a top team in the league right now, but at least they're fighting for. We think they'll be able to fight for a playoff spot. The A's have no shot. So I don't know. It's also just tough in general for a relief pitcher, even if they're closer or not, to win Rookie of the Year. We have 2 examples in the last 14 years.
Yeah.
I want to say those are the only 2. So yeah, I mean, also like not for nothing, but Mason Miller's arm could fall off at any point. So I do think that Willier's biggest competition there is the Yankee guy, Luis Heel. I don't think he's going back to the bullpen when Cole is activated. They shouldn't do that. So if he is, I don't know if he's on any sort of innings limit, but did Devin Williams win it, Pat?
Devin Williams, 2020. Dude was unhittable.
2020.
2020,
Yeah,
okay.
Weird, yeah. Luis Heel, by the way, that's a 7-letter name. It's very short.
27 innings pitched, a .33 ERA.
Yeah, 27 in it. Here, your rookie of the year.
He struck out 53 in 27 innings.
That's so funny.
Good for an ERA plus of 1,375.
That's so stupid. Oh man, 2020 was such a trip.
Per 9.
Oh man. All right. Well, so Wilyer Abreu, man, like legitimately, we hope we'll have a shot to win AL Rookie of the Year, but no compensation for the Red Sox because he wasn't on some fucking arbitrary. God, dude, I could explode just thinking about that. So dumb.
Dude, your face is already red. I noticed it when you like left the camera shot and then came back in. I was like, oh yeah, his face is pretty red right now. It's getting redder as you think about this. As you think about MLB Pipeline's top 100 list, it's getting redder. Get mad, bro. Speaking of getting mad, that was not an intended transition, by the way. But speaking of getting mad, the benches. I don't know when was the last time the Red Sox benches cleared? Was it Hansel Robles in 21 with the Blue Jays, or am I missing something? Did someone get mad at Pivetta, or maybe that was the same thing? I don't know. But Chris Martin and fucking Quentin Berry, the first base coach, former Red Sox World Series champ. The way, and this is coming from a Twitter account, so I don't know if this is actually what was said, but I read on Twitter that it was that Martin walking off the field said, "Bunt again, bitch," and then Quentin Berry started, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you," and then everyone.
Well, we know he murmured. Chris Martin said that he murmured something under his breath about the bunting. We don't know exactly what it was.
Himself, probably to himself.
Fucking bitch, fuck you,
fucking bunt again. And it was interesting because he only threw 3 pitches. They bunted twice, so he had to field one. He attempted to field the other, but Devers got to it. And then the last out was a ground ball where he had to cover first. So he threw 6 pitches, but he had to field his position 3 times, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, nothing happened with the benches clearing, but I thought it was interesting. One of my buddies sent me a link to this thing, like Quentin Berry. Apparently he's just like an all about me kind of guy. He had these crazy cleats. I wish I had the picture on me to show, but it's like these gold cleats with like flashing lights on the bottom. It's like, okay, like this guy's all about me. And Alex Cora after the game, it wasn't like a directed attacking message, but he was like, yeah, like our job as managers and coaches is like to stay out of that stuff. So I don't think Quentin Berry sees it like that. I think he wants to be involved and get some screen time. And, you know, he didn't get all that much as a player. So, you know, now he's on the field as a first base coach. Now's my opportunity. I hear Chris Martin say something. This guy's like a Zen dude. He's not going to attack me, even though if he wanted to, he could whoop your ass because he's 10
Chris
feet
Martin?
tall.
I think he's a little fiery.
Oh yeah.
He does his thing where he kind of goes into like a shell when he gets a big out, and he goes he goes into a shell.
That's so true.
It's his power up.
He's got like a turtle on it. The turtle shot.
He has a power up. That's his power up. He gets bonus experience points for his stats. It's like RuneScape.
Someone's gonna put the Bowser shell on Chris Martin's back when he's
Bowser. Yeah, he's good at baseball, but yeah, that was weird. No punches thrown or anything. Just a lot of chirping. Chirp, chirp, chirp. But yeah, Chris Martin would not be the first person I would choose to fight on the Red Sox. He is almost 7 feet tall and not a skinny guy either. He's not like a twig. Like he's a beefy 6'11" guy. So yeah, I probably wouldn't want to fuck with the guy. How heavy is Gotta get a weight check on Chris Martin.
Yeah,
I mean, Quentin Berry's what, 5'4", $120?
This is what's interesting here, Sammy, is this is very similar to the Grizzly Bear versus Gorilla discussion because Chris Martin is way bigger, but Quentin Berry is almost certainly way faster.
This is like a grizzly bear versus like a wolf, maybe. No, I don't think he gets gorilla.
No,
Quentin Berry doesn't get gorilla status. By the way, Chris Martin 6'8", 225. So probably not the guy you want to be messing with.
Quentin Berry is 6'1", 195.
Okay, so he's big. That's pretty big. 6'1", 195. Yeah, that's like a good. Yeah. Still, that's not even close to Chris Martin.
No.
Also, Chris Martin is an active professional athlete, whereas Quentin Berry is a former professional athlete. So, yeah, not a good fight for him. He would be at a big reach disadvantage and a weight disadvantage. So, it's good call to not throw any punches or anything. Just keep it to the words.
It's too bad the Brewers and Sox don't face off again this year, at least until the World Series.
Can you imagine Nesson hyping that up? Brewers, Red Sox, the rivalry renewed. Only
Chris Martin doing it all.
Chris Martin, Quentin Berry. Who will win?
Martin versus the first base coach of the Brewers.
They're from Milwaukee, and they make beer.
Glug, 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 glug. Only on Nesson.
Last note I have from this one, just quick shout out to a guy who's taking a lot of heat, but he's playing so well right now. You got to give him a shout. It's David Hamilton. Last 10 games, 10 for 30, playing good defense. He's made plays. He stole 2 bases in a row today. Dude got benched for a while, seemingly like a couple of weeks. Basically, you didn't see him, but he didn't get optioned. He stuck around, and he's playing. He's close to every day at this point. They're finding ways to get him in the lineup because he's playing well. So just a quick shout out to David Hamilton. I don't know how much I would expect him to continue that. I don't know. Do you guys actually I don't know. For me, I never fell in love with the David Hamilton bat. He looks great right now. I don't know. I really don't know what to think.
I don't mind him as a bench piece. Speed is obviously amazing. That's top tier. The speed is top tier. If he can keep defending well at second base mostly, and then, fill in at shortstop when needed, hopefully they can hide him there. It's fine. Just the problems we had with David Hamilton was when he was at shortstop every single day. And not only was he not playing good defense, the bat was giving you nothing. So if he's playing an abbreviated role at a better spot for him, I'm fine with it. Lefty with speed, little bit of pop too. He can hit the ball out. So yeah. It's fine. Red Sox win the Renfroe trade. How about that?
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, I think he can fill the Pablo Reyes role of last year.
Rest in peace, by the way.
Yeah, rip Pablo. But I think that's where David Hamilton fits into the scheme, which, if he plays like this, the speed plays everywhere, every day. It's just making sure he's not getting too much playing time, making too many errors. It's a happy medium, but he's playing great.
Yeah. I really do feel like, Sammy, to your point about him being a solid bench piece. Yeah, especially if he can defend, that's the most important thing. If you have a fast guy who can defend, you can be a major league bench piece. If you can't hit. This was the
book on him too. This was the book on him when he was in the minors. Quentin Berry. This was the book on David Hamilton, was that he was a decent defender at second base. He can play shortstop, but you ideally don't want to play him there. And then same with the outfield. He can play the outfield as well. So if he's mostly at second, honestly, right now, the way things are going, I would play Hamilton at second base when there's a right-handed starter on the mound, and I would play Vaughn Grissom when there's a left-handed starter on the mound, because Vaughn is still getting into the groove of things. Talked about it a lot, lost a ton of weight. That's not a small thing. Missed spring training, lost a lot of weight from being sick, so he's going to take some time to get back into the groove. Eventually, he'll be the everyday guy, but for now, maybe just let him face lefties, get him hot, and then Hamilton, ride the hot bat, win some games. I don't hate that.
I would do something close to that. I don't want Vaughn not playing against any righties, because then he's going to play a day or two a week. Yeah. I want Vaughn playing most of the time, but I like what they're doing. In some days you're going to get Cedon in center and Hamilton at short and Vaughn at second. Some days Vaughn will sit and it's Hamilton at second. I like the overall mix they're doing. I think it works. Gets everyone involved. So yeah, we'll see what the mix is. But yeah, shout out to David Hamilton for really turning it on lately. And shout out at the end. I mean, the Red Sox bullpen today was insane. We mentioned Chris Martin, 6 pitches. Justin Slayton looked as good as he's looked since like the beginning, where he was absolutely flaming guys. He absolutely torched Milwaukee. And then Kenley Jansen at the end, strikeout, and bunt again, and gets that last out. He looked great. So I guess that kind of takes us into this final thing that we should get into before we preview the next series. But Bob Nightingale had a report about Kenley Jansen today saying that the Red Sox have no intention to bring him back next season and will trade him before the deadline. This is kind of one of the first concrete Red Sox deadline reports that we've gotten. Kind of feels like a little bit early for that, but to be honest with you, and I'll give you guys my take on this and you can tell me what you think. I think the reason you're getting that take is because I think Kenley does go regardless of what the Red Sox do. If they lose every game now, if they stick around 500, if they win every game until then, like if they lose all the games, they're selling. They're going to trade Kenley if they're selling. If they win the games, if they are in the hunt and they want to add, you got to remember ownership isn't just that budget doesn't just go away if the Red Sox win games. They have a budget and they're going to stick to the budget. So if you want to add, you have to find space to add salary. You're either going to have to do that or you're going to have to trade extra prospects to get teams to eat all the salary. I think the Red Sox would rather sacrifice Kenley Jansen in that case rather than pay a heftier price to get teams to eat money. So I think if the Red Sox compete, you could still see them deal Kenley to offload some salary to then use to boost the roster in other areas. I don't know. Sammy, when you read this report, I assume you weren't surprised, but what were your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts were kind of conflicting thoughts. First, I'm thinking, why not trade him now? You remove the risk of him getting hurt, and then you can use the extra time on whoever that you're trading with, extra time on that roster as leverage. But then on the other hand, the closer you get to the deadline, the more desperate teams act. So it's really two schools of thought. I don't think either is right or wrong. You could make an argument for both. But I do think it's kind of a good thing that we're hearing these rumors and they're not going to do hey, we're actually going to hang on to him and try to make a run. As much as I want to believe in this team making a run, I don't think it's realistic to think that way. And they'd also be trading from a strength. The bullpen has been great. There's a handful of guys that I'm sure we would feel comfortable with slotting in, getting a shot at closer. Not saying long term, but getting a shot. And they also have Liam Hendricks, who's probably going to come back, maybe like August. So that's not a perfect fit, but still, there's reasons to trade Kenley. I think there's more than enough reasons to trade Kenley. And I'm glad they're being proactive again, like they were with adding Cooper, Smith, Short. I'm glad they're being proactive with, moving this roster along, should say.
Yeah, I think we all knew that Kenley was in all likelihood going to get traded the day they signed Liam Hendricks to that 2-year deal. We kind of thought it before that happened, and then that happens, and there's writing on the wall. I think moving Kenley, and Sammy alluded to it, there's one school of thought and there's another. Are you better off moving him now when teams maybe pay a little bit more for a little bit more of more than half a year of him? Or do you really try and drum up a bidding war at the deadline and trade him for what is the best package then? But a guy with Kenley with the back issues, it's a gamble. It's a gamble to wait that long. So if you have good offers now, take it. Yeah,
that's where I'm at, Pat. If you and to your point too, Sammy, if you have a good offer on the table now, I would take it. Obviously it's a two-way street. Obviously it takes two to tango. And I think especially with bullpen, teams try so many different things to try to make it happen themselves and not have to pay either the money or the prospects, or in this case, both, to get an established guy. If you can unearth a diamond in between now, it's the end of May, and you have until the end of July, you've got time to try to do it yourself and not have to sacrifice money and prospects. So I think a lot of teams will do that. I hope Kenley stays healthy. If he does and he pitches well, if he pitches like he did in the third game of the series, there will be a market for an established closer like that. There are teams. Sammy, you had a tweet today, so I'll let you get into that. But there are good teams that could use an established, and in this case, future Hall of Fame closer.
Right. And I think the most obvious one of those teams is the Los Angeles Dodgers, his former team. They are as loaded as you can get. Ohtani, Mookie, Freeman, Smith, go on and on and on. The rotation is unbelievable. They added Glasnow. The one weak spot, if you even want to call it a weak spot, would be the back end of their bullpen. They have Evan Phillips, but he's been more of a 7th, 8th inning guy. And other than that, there's not too much closing experience on the roster. And that's a team that you know for a fact is going to be very aggressive now and in the future. And Kenley is a guy they know and they're familiar with. They've had success with him. So that's a landing spot that I think makes sense. Dave Dombrowski's Phillies, another team loaded, but they're missing that back end guy. Dombrowski not afraid to make trades. Then another one I thought of was the Chicago Cubs, another National League team. They're not on the same level as those two teams that I mentioned, the Dodgers and the Phillies, but they're still a solid team in a weak division, so they've got a shot. And they had Adbert Alzolay. Bear with me on that name. Adbert Alzolay.
My dude.
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy that I think everyone thought was going to be a successful closer. He was successful in 2023 as their closer for a short term. He's just not been great, so maybe the Cubs are interested in him. And I could just go on. There's other teams. Texas kind of makes sense. So there's a lot of suitors. I think it's smart to float his name there, float his name out there now. Jesus, words. And just see what you get. If you get a great offer now, pull the trigger. If you're if I'm Craig Breslow and I'm not 100% sure that the offer I'm getting now in late May is the offer I want, I'm holding on to Kenley until the deadline, because then you can go with that other school of thought that I mentioned of these teams are under pressure. They need to add a closer. Clock is ticking. They're willing to give up more because they got to get it done. So
that's
smart
the key.
to put his name out there early. I wonder how Nightingale got that scoop. I'm sure it was leaked to him. It has to be intentional. These things are mostly intentional, especially, when you're not in the off season and there's not like the agents meddling with free agency and shit. So I'm interested to see what happens. I love the trades. Probably like my favorite off the field thing that there is. I talk about it way too much, but yeah, those are my three that I'm looking at right now. Dodgers number one, and then Phillies and Cubs.
Yeah, and if they did happen to get an offer at this point, that would be worth it. And obviously it wouldn't be the first time that's happened. Chapman last year between the Royals and the Rangers got traded well in advance of the deadline. If they got that offer, they would be well positioned to replace Kenley. There's multiple big league caliber arms in AAA. They just optioned Zach Kelly, who has had an awesome season. He could come back. They optioned Winkowski, and he's been starting, but he could come back. There's other guys down there pitching well, guys earning promotions. Like as valuable as it is to have a bona fide ninth inning guy, I don't want to make it seem like we're devaluing that, but you do have Liam Hendricks, as Pat mentioned, you do have him coming back at the end. So you will have, if this team is going to make a run, you will have a bona fide ninth inning guy. So I do think it makes all the sense in the world. As much as like we like Kenley and as good as Kenley has been for the most part, it does make tons of sense.
Orioles too. Orioles signed Kimbrel. He's been really bad this year. Maybe they want to switch out Kimbrel for Kenley. Royals, like you just mentioned, they're really good out of nowhere. Some of us predicted that.
That's a good one. Sammy, that's a good one. The Royals, that's a good one. I could see that one. The other ones make sense too, but no one's the Royals no one talks about because I feel like no one thinks that they'll spend, but they spend a bunch of money this offseason. Like Kenley's half price if you get him at the deadline. It's actually less than half price. So I could see it.
Here's an important thing to kind of monitor, and so far so good. But I think the Blue Jays might be open to trading Jordan Romano, who's also a closer.
Definitely.
So, and this is very, very broad. If Kenley's pitching better than Romano, that's a really good thing for the Red Sox because that makes him the most valuable commodity in terms of closers on the market. And right now, Romano's got like a 4.5 ERA. He's only pitched 12 innings. So Kenley's got the lead on him right now. I'm trying to think if there's any other teams that might be willing to move a closer. I don't think the Astros are going to punt this early.
Mason Miller.
Yeah, I doubt the A's.
That's a whole different conversation though. Mason Miller and Kenley Jansen, two completely different markets.
Right. You could look at the Angels. They have Estevez, but he's not that great. The Rockies have Lawrence, but he's not that great. Finnegan on the Nationals. So there's some teams.
That's a solid one. But it's not Kenley. It's not Kenley.
Yeah.
Right.
Like how many of those guys do you get a closer? You don't get a closer thinking about numbers and analytics and all of that. You get a closer to be like, when we get to October, Are we going to be able to trust this guy to get on the mound in a 1-run game in game 4 in the 9th inning and shut it down? And all of these guys may have great stuff, but we've seen pitchers flame out by the end of years all the time. Kenley Jansen has done this for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to trust him.
And of those guys that I listed, what is wrong with me today? It's like maybe I got a piece of Tyler O'Neill's concussion.
It's the sun, dude. You're getting the sun. Is it sun poisoning? That's the thing.
Sun poisoning. I haven't eaten enough today. That's the problem. But out of all those guys I listed, Estevez, Lawrence, Finnegan. Finnegan's the only one who's having a good season. Those other 2 guys would be reclamation projects. And if you're contending, you don't want a reclamation project as your go-to guy in the 9th inning. So the way it stands right now, Kenley is a very, very valuable trade chip. And Red Sox fans will scoff at that because they've been hating on him for the attitude. They don't like the body language. They don't like how he has to pitch in the 9th, blah, 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 blah. Regardless, it's a valuable trade chip. And this is why in the opening series of the year, when he said he had a back issue and people were like, oh, get out there and pitch.
Oh, my God.
Pump the brakes.
I forgot about that.
Trip. You need that guy healthy. I'm glad the Red Sox didn't push him. Would be so stupid. They didn't. Now he's healthy. He's got his ERA down. I think he's close to the 2s. He's in the 3.06, I think, after today. But he's looking good. So that's a good sign for the Red Sox.
How stupid does that discussion feel now? We do this every year, the beginning of the year discussions, and by the middle of May, they always seem so dumb. What the conversations we have after the first, second, third series, it's so funny every year.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. But by the way, Chapman too. Chapman not having a great season. I know him 4.5 ERA. Fucking weirdo. He's not doing too hot.
You nailed Kenley's ERA, by the way. Very good.
How about Tanner Scott? Is he having a good season? Tanner Scott, he was nasty last year. Okay, so this is a guy that might give Kenley a run for his money. Oh my God, 21 innings, 1.71 ERA.
Ooh. So, but throws left-handed. Throws left-handed though. So if you've got good lefties in your pen, you want a righty.
Throws left-handed, and like you just said, Gordo, with closers, it's not always about stats so much. It's kind of like, who do you feel confident in ending this game right now?
Right.
And do you want Tanner Scott, who's been a closer for 1.5 seasons, or do you want Hall of Fame closer Kenley Jansen, even when he's not at his best? I think I'd go Kenley.
Yep. You guys ready to preview the next series? Get into some Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, so yeah, dude. Red Sox versus Orioles always goes well. Let's get into it.
Yeah, well, right now the Orioles are still in the middle of their series finale with the White Sox, and as we record this, Kyle Bradish has a no-hitter through 6 1/3 innings. So something to keep an eye on there. But
half an elbow.
Before this game is over, so these are all stats through Saturday into Sunday, but they are 32-18. They're in second place. They have won both games in their series so far against the White Sox, in line to potentially sweep that series. Let's get through the pitching matchups here. Cooper Criswell versus Cole Irvin. Cooper Criswell has a 2.86 ERA coming off 5 1/3 of 2 earned runs, 6 Ks versus Tampa Bay. Cole Irvin's got a 3.15 coming off 3 1/3, 5 runs, 3 of which were earned in 2 Ks. He was briefly moved to the pen, but not due to performance, more so just because they've got a depth of starters, but they've had an injury or two pop up. I know Dean Creamer just went down. You will not be seeing him, but Cole Irvin back in the rotation, so you'll see him in game 1. Second game, Brian Bayo versus Grayson Rodriguez. Bayo's got a 4.04 ERA coming off 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, but 4 walks in his last start. Definitely didn't feel great, but settled in, was impressive down the stretch in that start. Grayson Rodriguez, he has a 3.2 ERA, and since returning from his IL stint, which was pretty quick, he went 6 scoreless and then 5 innings of 3-run ball with 7 strikeouts. However, he has walked 8 men in those 2 starts. Third game, Kutter Crawford versus Corbin Burns. Kutter Crawford's got a 2.89 ERA coming off his worst start of the season, 4 1/3, 6 earned, 4 strikeouts. Corbin Burns having yet another stellar potential Cy Young caliber season, though he's not better than Tanner Houck. He does have a 2.6 ERA coming off 6 innings of 3 earned run ball with 6 strikeouts. Hitters to watch here, Gunnar Henderson, one of the best players in all of baseball. He is tied for the major league lead with 17 home runs.
He's not.
Did Judge go deep again? Oh, Kyle Tucker did?
The lead, yeah. He literally 15 minutes ago.
Shucks. Okay, second in baseball with 17 homers. He's got a 961 OPS. Obviously, this team also has Adley Rutschman, Ryan Mountcastle, Colton Cowser's there, but he is cooled off. We'll get into his 7-day stats in a second. Ryan O'Hearn, 831 OPS, more of a platoon guy, but has hit the ball well. Jordan Westberg got off to a cold start this year, but his OPS is up to 850. He's a stud, young up and comer, not being talked about enough. They do still have some mainstays that are not hitting as well as they have. Anthony Santander with a 716 OPS on the season. Cedric Mullins with a 574 on the year. Last 7-day stats, Gunnar Henderson is still a stud. 1064 OPS. Ryan Mountcastle, 921 OPS. But the next highest after those two guys is Austin Hayes at 742. Some strugglers here. Adley at 451 over the last 7 days.
Just hit a home run.
So that's going up. Cedric Mullins at 423, and Colton Cowser, the aforementioned Rookie of the Year candidate, who may not be if he keeps this up. He is at a 206 OPS in the last 7 days, unless he just hit a fucking 2-run tater. No.
All I saw was Adley had like a first inning home run, and then I saw that Kyle Tucker retook the lead by doing the impossible and hitting a home run in Oakland.
So good for Kyle Tucker taking away the stat from me. Fucking bum. Let's get into some series predictions here, gents. I want to bring in Joe Braverman here to give us a score update here. What do we got?
Well, what do we have? We have a bunch of losers from this past weekend. You all didn't get it right. Pat said 2 wins out of 3. Sammy went for a series sweep. Gordo thought they were going to get swept. We were the closest out of the 3, but still no points on the board. So we've got Sammy still with 7, Pat with 4, and Gordo with 2.
See, my strategy, it sucked because I picked them getting swept because I thought it would lead to good things. Not only did I not get the point, but they still lost the series. Granted, I guess it's better that they didn't get swept. But let's kick it off here. Sammy's in the lead, so I'm going to let Pat take the first stab at this series. Sox, Orioles, in Baltimore. What do you got, buddy?
I hate it. I have them winning 1. I think they win the Cooper Criswell game. I think they win the first one against Cole Irvin, and then I think they lose the next 2. Grayson is electric, and then Corbin Burns is Corbin Burns. You're going to get what you get, you know? I think they take 1 out of 3 as the first one.
All right, 1 out of 3 for Pat. Sammy, what do you got?
Oh, I just don't really feel good about this series. When is it? By the way, I'm looking at MLB.com. Why do they not have the third? Oh, there it is. Sorry, they had it out of order. I think oh man, I think they get swept. Sorry. They just like Criswell, Irvin. I like it. You got your big right-handed bat, Tyler O'Neill. Oh wait. No, you don't. Who's going to hit Irvin? I don't know. It just, not that Cole Irvin's like this unhittable guy. It's just like, I don't know. He's having a good season. Got 3.15 ERA. He's left-handed. The Red Sox have struggled against good teams and lefties all year long. So I don't feel great about that game. Game 2, Brian Bayo versus Grayson Rodriguez. Bayo's been up and down all year long. Grayson has been awesome. 3.2 ERA. Believe he kind of shoved it up the Red Sox ass earlier this year too, which might actually be good for the Red Sox because they've seen him. Still doesn't make me feel super confident. And then the last game is just like brutal. You have Kutter Crawford trending in the wrong direction versus fucking Corbin Burns. So, yeah, I think I have to. Okay, you know what? I'll say the Red Sox win the middle game.
Oh, come on.
The Red Sox win, loss.
Have some nuts.
Middle game.
Have some nuts.
These are the nuts I'm having. They're going to win a game. I'm saying they're going to win. No, they win the middle game. I think Bayo has a bounce back start. I feel like every time we're down on Bayo, he bounces back. I don't feel great about any of these games, but I'll say they win the middle game. Loss, win, loss.
All right. I am not going to pick them to get swept 3 series in a row. I will not do that. I don't feel good about any of these games in particular for the reasons that Sammy just said before he wimped out and ditched his sweep pick. I am going to, even though I don't feel good about any of these games looking at them on paper, I'm going to say that the Red Sox take 2 out of 3 here. I'm going to get a point on you guys. I'm going to do it. Every time we think they're going to do bad, they do good. And when we think they're going to do good, they do bad. They're on the road. They're better on the road. They're going to Baltimore. They used to win all the time in Baltimore before the Orioles got good. Remember those days? They're going to channel that. 2 out of 3. Oof. Which game are they going to lose?
The last one.
Yeah, it's going to be the last one. It's going to be the
Corbin
last one.
Burns. Oh my.
But and you know what? That would fit perfectly with what the Red Sox do because they win a few games and they lose. It's never 1-1-1-1. They put them in stretches. So they're going to have won 3 in a row. We're going to be feeling great. Chance to sweep the Orioles. They'll lose. And then we'll get on this podcast be like, well, we don't feel very good right now, but we still got to be positive because they won a tough series. So we'll go with that. So Pat, 1 out of 3. Sammy, 1 out of 3. Me, Gordo, 2 out of 3.
Wait, Pat, which game did you pick them? You picked them to win the Criswell game, the first one?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I got the middle game. I think Bayo bounces back. Ground ball machine. I feel great about it.
Pat, what's it time for?
It is time for Crystal Bomb.
Bomb it.
Bomb it. Braverman, can we get a score update?
Yeah, just like the series, y'all were a bunch of losers. No one had a home run. Pat, you picked Devers. He did not homer. Duran did not homer, and neither did Tyler O'Neill. So it's still Gordo in the lead with 8, Sammy in second with 4, Pat in third with 3.
Well, fuck all of us for not picking Dom Smith.
I know, right? Was that the only guy who had a home run?
Yep.
My God.
I love this segment because it's such a crapshoot. It really is. Pat picks Devers, who has been the most automatic pick for a while. I mean, honestly, he's the most automatic pick. If we did this segment dating back years, he'd be the most automatic pick. And it's Dom Smith. But yeah, we heard the score update. I'm still leading.
It's bad, yeah. All right.
I have no idea who to take this week. This is so hard because they're facing a lefty in game 1, and then you get Rodriguez, but then in game 3, it's a righty, but it's Corbin Burns who eats lefties alive. This might be a no home run series again.
I can go first.
Not to mention the left field wall, too. It's pushed all the way back. But yeah, Pat, what do you got?
So I'm pissed because I feel like every time they go to Baltimore, Devers hits a home run, but I can't pick Devers. So I'm going with Connor Wong.
Ooh.
I think Wong's due. He's been playing great. Got today off. He's well rested. Good to go. Ready to roll. I think he goes yard this weekend or this week.
I hate you, Pat. I was gonna go with Wong, and now I'm not gonna do it. And I'm gonna go next, and I'm gonna make you eat it, Pat, because I was gonna go with Wong, but now I'm gonna go with Devers because I can pick Devers. So give me Devers. Let's extend that lead. Taking Corbin Burns deep. Let's go.
Whoa.
All right. I'm going to go with Rob Refsnyder because yesterday Gordo and I noticed that he's low-key yoked more so than we thought. So I'll go with him. But this might be the toughest series that we've ever had to pick a home run because tough pitching matchups, lefties and righties, but the righty is a cutter guy, and then it's a gigantic ballpark. That's this is a tough one. But I'll go Refsnyder. I think he runs into one like straight away center field, just a rocket, and it doesn't look like a home run off the bat. But then we're surprised by the carry and it gets out.
I'm making sure you guys know ahead of time. You're not allowed to pick no home runs. I'm glad no one tried that. You guys are saints for not trying that. We're not doing that shit. Sammy, my boy, what is it time for? What do we got?
Okay, time for the no losers, only winners segment. It's guys being dudes.
Ooh.
Okay, so excuse me. This week, it's a repeat. So no picking the same person from the Orioles who also played for the Red Sox. You got to pick somebody new. So no Bruce Chen for me. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first because mine is somewhat relevant.
One more that I'm banning. No Bill Hall, because we did him last week and we've done him 3 times.
I saw Bill Hall when I was scouring the rosters. I was like, I'm not doing. I can't do Bill Hall. We didn't. That was that. Yeah, it was last week. Or last week.
Series. Yeah, we love Bill Hall. Shit, we're talking about Bill Hall now. It's another Bill Hall mention, but he can't be your pick. It's just too easy. So go ahead.
You want my pick? My pick, Quentin Berry.
Timely.
Yes, timely. Quentin Berry, Red Sox 2013. Brought aboard to just steal bases. He played in 13 games in that regular season. despite playing in 13 games, he only had 9 plate appearances. He did hit 625 with a 1667 OPS.
What?
9 plate appearances. That's it.
But when? When was that?
When did he get his plate appearances?
Wait, he hit 600? For what stretch was that? I know it was only 9 games, but when?
I don't know. It's probably scattered. He probably it was probably like if games got to extra innings and he had to stay in the game. There's no way he started.
Do you know what? I know what jersey number he is.
I'll be able to verify it.
Is it 50?
Yeah, it is. Very good, Sammy.
Ooh.
He was Mookie Betts before Mookie Betts. Career, he's a 697 OPS in his major league career. I'm sure he's not good in the minors, but yeah, he played 10 games for the Orioles the next year. In those 10 games, he only had 2 plate appearances. Did not get a hit. He did score 3 runs because he's a pinch runner, career pinch runner. Now he is a bona fide fuck you man for the Brewers. That's his position. That's his title. So yeah, Quentin Berry.
Fuck, man. Colton Cowser solo home run.
Oh, come on.
This removes everything I just said about Colton Cowser. Well, I did timestamp it verbally, so it doesn't really count actually. And he's still well behind Thick Willie. But anyway, yeah, that was a good one. Quentin Berry. We already talked about him. He won the World Series with the Red Sox. Him and Tony Renda. All right, Pat, who you got?
Going with the cowboy himself, a little Kevin Millar action.
Oh, right.
I like it.
Right.
Kevin Millar, Oriole legend.
Back
Sammy
when they had
Cowboy
baby. They had that authentic Oriole logo.
Yeah, the weird,
I like that.
Weird, authentic looking Oriole. Yeah.
It reminds me of being able to beat them every time.
Yeah, good time.
Oh,
good time.
Brian Roberts over at second base. Easy money. It's a
Melvin Mora.
Tony Bautista. You guys remember Tony Bautista's batting stance?
I know the name, but I don't know the stance.
He would do this. He would, like, if you're the pitcher, he'd put his bat like that, and then he'd just go right as the pitch was coming. He would stand like square. He would have
he would like square up.
He would square up, hold the bat in the middle of his body, and then right when the pitcher was getting ready, he would turn into a batting stance. It was bizarre. Definitely worth a YouTube on that.
Wow.
Guy from the same era, kind of the 90s and the early 2000s, back when I was a young boy. And this guy is known for pitching on a much different team than the Red Sox and the Orioles. Jamie Moyer.
Oh, well,
who played for the Red Sox in 1996. He pitched 90 innings. Yeah, not great. Didn't do great with the Red Sox, but that's okay. 4.5 ERAs. It wasn't awful, but he just wasn't good. Played for the Orioles actually for 3 seasons, 93, 94, 95. I was the only one of us who was alive to witness that. I remember it well. I was 1 year old. And Jamie Moyer. Yeah, it was 20. Yeah. Jamie Moyer, also known as Henry Owens. Sorry. Same pitcher. He's a guy who pitched for 100 seasons. He pitched 25 years. Up until age 49, he was pitching for the Rockies. As a 49-year-old, he pitched 53.2 innings with a scalding hot 5.7 ERA.
For each of those 25 years, he looked no younger than 62.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was born in his 60s. So, yeah, Jamie Moyer, great pitcher. Not quite like Hall of Fame caliber pitcher, but unbelievable career for a million different... Take a wild guess how many innings Jamie Moyer pitched in his career.
52,000.
Not that high. Jesus, that'd be the record.
I'm going to go with 4,100.
Close. 4,074. So right.
Wow. Oh my God. Give it to him. Oh my God.
That was nice. And you know what was cool? He did it with finesse. Never a high heat kind of guy. He's a real ball player. He's a real pitcher. Ball player.
Shall we get into some enough said before we get out of here?
We shall.
I'll kick it off. There was this picture that got surfaced in like an article about, I don't know, Ben Affleck's divorce. I don't know. I guess he was walking around with Jennifer Lopez, like discussing how they're going to get divorced a week ago today. And someone snapped this picture. Braverman, if you could cue it up, get it up there. As you can see here, Ben Affleck literally is wearing this Sully's brand shirt, Full Throttle, Believe in Boston 2024. I cannot believe. I knew Ben Affleck was one of us, but I didn't know that he was this much one of us. This dude is a Sox guy.
Oh yeah, dude, he's a Sox guy. What are you talking about? Come on.
He's not even like oh yeah, like I'm a Sox. Like this, if you're wearing that shirt, like
He's locked in.
You're following like Dom Smith's stat line. When Dom Smith hits a homer, you're jacked up about it. Like David Hamilton's 10 for his last 30. Like you're pumped up about it. You're concerned about the starts from Kutter and Pivetta. Like you're all in, man. This guy is pissed about Yamamoto getting away. Like he wanted Teoscar. He was pissed about Gio Urshela not coming to the Red Sox, and he hates the PGA investment. He does.
He hates it. And Gordo, that is why Ben Affleck is the Play Tessie listener of the week. Congrats to Ben Affleck. Another accolade in his impressive career. We appreciate the support. Ben. All right. Can I go? I got a question for Pat.
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right, Pat. This is the question that we were asking all the Red Sox players, some reporters, some people around the team yesterday. It's a tough one. And I know you know the question, but let me give you some background. Who would win in a neutral territory fight between a full-grown grizzly bear and a full-grown silverback gorilla? And before you answer, here's some stats. The grizzly bear, average size between 400 and 600 pounds, but can get up to 700. They're under 5 feet tall on all fours, but 10 feet tall when they stand on their back legs. Massive teeth, massive claws. They have fur, which could, decrease a blow. They're 5 times as strong as an average male human, and they have a big size advantage on the gorilla. However, the gorilla, which is between 300 and 500 pounds, can get up to 850-ish on the very big side. Average height is 5'6", but they can get up to 6 feet tall. Their strength, the grizzly bear's 5 times as strong as a human. A gorilla is 9 times as strong as the average human, can get up to 10 times as strong. They have a quickness and strength advantage, and they also have opposable thumbs, which you're an MMA fan. That's important, as you know. So who you got? This is a neutral territory, both males, full grown. Give me your pick and why.
All right. So I'm going with the gorilla. I was going with the gorilla before hearing that it's 10 times as strong as me. Dude, like bears are feisty. I get that. Probably a little bit quicker, a little nastier. But dude, a gorilla, the hand-eye coordination, thumbs, strength, everything
Smarter
about
too.
it. They're
Smarter
way
too.
smarter. Everything about it. I'm
That's
going
the
with
key.
gorilla. I think the gorilla absolutely dummies a grizzly bear.
Okay. I think it would be close. So we actually had, I won't tell you who picked who, but the gorilla definitely had a lead. But the grizzly bear got a pick in there from a Red Sox first baseman. I can't tell you who, but we'll release the videos soon. I think I tend to agree. But ultimately, I think it comes down to who gets the first big shot in. I think either could win. They both have win conditions here, but yeah, I think I would lean towards the gorilla. Too fast, too quick. Like the grizzly can run faster, but the gorilla is quicker. If
Like
that makes
agile, yeah.
The bear,
sense. Like they're not sprinting, they're fighting. So I'll go gorilla.
the bear in this circumstance is Adam Dunn, and it's like, yes, he can get you on the home run, he can get you on the big blow, but you can't count on it. More times than not, I think the gorilla, using its speed, finesse, and mind, is going to get you.
Yeah. They're both terrifying creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, I will give a little preview. Tristan Casas described the grizzly bear. What do you call it? Cuddly and fluffy.
I love
Those are
that.
fighting
He's
words,
great.
man. I don't know about that. Grizzly bear.
He's the best.
Did you guys see what's that Leo movie? The Revenant?
The Revenant.
Oh my god, the grizzly bear scene in that movie is horrifying. That is truly nightmare fuel. Being in the woods with one of those fuckers. And we're like, oh, it would lose. What just happened?
Pat, you gotta.
Dude, my
something going on
dog
the
just
back?
barked. It scared the shit out of me.
Pat just jumped out of his. It was a grizzly bear.
I looked down to start to kick it to Pat for his enough set. I look up and his computer shakes.
Pat just jumped 10 feet in the air. Jesus, sorry.
It just scared the shit out of me.
What's your dog's name, Pat?
Yeah, my enough said today is
Pat, what's your
Big
dog's
E-
name?
Oh, sorry. Tiger, because he's brindle.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's orange and black, yeah.
Well, he might need to make an appearance, but yeah, give me your enough said.
Give me Kyrie Irving at TD Garden tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
I
Oh,
need-
you know who's on board with that? Who we got confirmation? Alex Cora said that he wants Kyrie versus Celtics. That's his preferred matchup, too.
I want it so badly. Like, we have not had a villain like Kyrie since, like, A-Rod.
Well, hold on, Pat. Hold on. You understand that if the Timberwolves make it to the finals, it's A-Rod.
I know. I get that. But, like, going against someone that you genuinely hate, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. TD Garden it might break like Arrowhead's record for loudest stadium. Like, it's going to be a nut house in there. And I want it now. Give it to me. Feed me, Kyrie.
It would be wild.
I think the Celtics win that, too. Like, I like that matchup. Maybe we talked about that. Like, you got two of the top defensive guards in the world. Both are on the all-defense second team. Holiday and White clamp on Kyrie. And then you have Jalen and Tatum on friggin' Luka. Who else did those fucking dorks have?
The one thing that would make me nervous about it is that, like, you see the Pacers running all these plays where they screen and drive, and then sometimes Al comes over, you kick it to the big, and it's easy dunk. Like, all the Mavs do is do these stupid lob things to their two bigs. But I think the Celtics stand a pretty good chance against whoever they face. So
you know what the Celtics need to stop that? They need like a 7'3" Latvian guy to be right in the middle of everything and just because us Latvian people are like the coolest people. So I think that would help.
It might help, especially if he's
got
Latvian.
A little breaking news. Not really. The Orioles are going for a combined no-hitter. Kyle Bradish went 7 innings, no hits, 4 walks, 11 Ks. The White Sox broke it up in the 8th inning off of a Danny Mendick home run, just like we all would have thought.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yep.
He was one of the shortstop options that we were talking about when Hamilton was thinking. No, he's on fire. He was hitting like 450 in AAA. He was on fire.
Fuck out of here with that shit.
Yeah, Daniel Colombi.
It was a pinch hit home run too.
Classic. They're already rattled for the Red Sox. They're thinking about the Red Sox, so dorks.
Well, on that note, fellas, it's time for us to get out of here. Appreciate you tuning in to episode 76 of Play Tessie. Before you get going, before you do whatever else you're going to do today, before you tune into the Celtics tonight or the Sox, I forgot they're not off. They're not off Monday. So the Sox and the Celtics both playing. Double screen that shit.
Day game.
Oh, that's right. Day game. Wow.
Yep.
Happy Memorial Day. But yeah, episode 76. Before you leave, hit that subscribe button. Whether you're listening on the Odyssey app, Apple, Spotify, hit the subscribe button, rate us 5 stars. It helps us out a ton. And check us out on YouTube on WEI's page. And we've got a playlist there. So go to those videos, hit the thumbs up, check us out there. Obviously, good content coming out of the socials at Play Tessie on both Twitter and Instagram. Sammy just talked about some of the questions we were asking the Sox players this past weekend on the field. So good content coming there. Keep your eyes out. But until next time, till episode 77, we'll talk after this O series. We'll get back to you then. But till then, for Sammy, for Pat, for Joe, it's Gordo here. Play Tessie, episode 76. Thanks for tuning in. Toodaloo.